keep the talking part of this video short and sweet. This is my IO Polish Sporter that I have had for several years now. One thing you want to bear in mind when you buy one of these types of rifles, not only the IO AKs, also the Century AKs and perhaps some of the other ones, is you don't ever want to just pick up one of these rifles at a gun shop and buy it without thoroughly inspecting it. But this one, I busted it open. I looked on the insides, made sure everything was working properly. I racked the charging handle several times, made sure it didn't stick. Checked the sights, front and rear. Made sure that they weren't canted. I made sure that the gas block wasn't canted, and just got a good feel for it overall. Made sure everything was on the up and up, and I checked the riveting. Made sure that the rivets looked nice. Made sure that that they weren't pounded in too far, and the receiver wasn't bent in, or they weren't pounded in far enough. So I took my time. I took my time in inspecting this rifle before I bought it, and I have had zero problems with this rifle. Those issues may be more prevalent in the Century rifles, but you still don't want to leave anything to chance. Thoroughly inspect your weapon before purchasing it. I did it with this one, and because if you dig deep enough and you look long enough, you're going to find somebody who's had an issue with any gun, no matter how high quality it is. So, those issues, like I said, they're more prevalent in Century AKs, but I have heard of some people having those issues with these. I have had this rifle has none of those problems, and I have had no problems with it, and I think it's really, really well made. The finishing on the wood stocks on this rifle, it's great, and it's got a really, really comfortable, nice, ergonomic pistol grip. I've done a lot of shooting with AKs, and in the overall scheme of things, I would say, comparing it to, some of the other really prevalent AKs that you'll find on the market, the Century AKs and the Arsenal AKs, I think that the IO AKs are right in between. I think that they're of a higher quality than the Century AKs, but I think that they're slightly lower quality than the Arsenal AKs. Not much, just slightly. How do I think it compares to both of them? Well, first of all, when I got this rifle, 2009, 2010, something in there. Anyway, at the time, it was a no-brainer to get this rifle over the Century gun, because it was like $550. This one was $550, and the Century was $500. I mean, and you look at the two of them. I mean, it's like the hot sister and the ugly sister. I mean, it's $50. It was a no-brainer. The fit and finish is obviously nicer on the IO AKs over the Century AKs, and those issues that I mentioned before. Like I said, if you look hard enough, you're going to find somebody who's had those issues or some other issues with any gun, no matter how high the quality. Those issues, I've heard a couple about these rifles. I've had none in this particular rifle, and they're far less prevalent. So this is definitely a better rifle than the Century AK in pretty much every way. The Wasser 1063. As far as comparing it to the Arsenal AKs, the things that I like better about it is, first of all, I like the this is a purely an opinion thing and an aesthetics thing. I like the finished wood stocks. I really like the look of that, and I like this pistol grip that it came with, better than the Arsenal guns. I think it has a better trigger than the Arsenal guns. It's got a really, really nice light trigger. There's plenty of people who complain about the Arsenal triggers in the SGL 21s and 31s, and I don't mind the trigger pull in the SGL 21s and 31s, but this is definitely better. Downside, well, what do I like? What do I like better about the Arsenal AKs? I do think that the Arsenal AKs, my SGL 21. I mean, I took this out and I was shooting yesterday. My Arsenal SGL 21 and also my SLR 107 CR. I think that they're both slightly more accurate than this rifle. Another one of the things I like better about this rifle compared to the Arsenal AKs is the finish. You know, it's got a nice blowing. It's not all, you know, screwed up and messed up like on a lot of the Century AKs, and it's not painted on like the Arsenal. You know, I think it's got a really nice finish. If you know, you were going to give me the option to, you know, pick up one of the two, and you said, you know, you could pick up the SGL 21 or this rifle, I'd probably pick up the SGL 21 that I have. But you know, if you told me I had to take this rifle, I wouldn't feel, you know, at a disadvantage in any way, shape, or form. Most of the things, other than accuracy, most of the other quality issues of this rifle compared to the Arsenal AKs is a wash. At least this one. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, there's not, you know, people out there that haven't had problems with these, because I have heard of them, and I'm sure I'm going to hear from them. You know, every time I do a video, there's some guy who says, "Oh yeah, I'd rather have a slingshot than that gun." You know, whatever, blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? You go play with your slingshot. This particular rifle is really well made, and so long as you inspect it and make sure everything's on the up and up, I highly recommend it. And, you know, I think also out of the three of them, out of the Wasser and the Arsenal and the IO, I think that this is the best value, or at least it was. I mean, right now, you know, it's an inflated market because of everything that's going on. But you know, back before everything got crazy, you know, the Centuries, you know, these were only, you know, $50 to $100 more than the Centuries, and, you know, well worth it. And, you know, the Arsenals were, you know, $300 more than, you know, these ones. So I think that, you know, out of the three, you know, these rifles are the best value, in my opinion. So anyway, this is the IO Polish Sporter. Highly recommended by me.